Welcome to the Grief Pie Podcast. This is a show where we motivate and inspire men to share their grief one bite at a time. Thanks for tuning in and adding your voice and stories so that we can all heal and find joy together. Now please welcome your hosts, Gary Scott and James Rafter.
Hey guys, it's Gare, and welcome to another episode of Grief Pie. Two guys sharing grief one bite at a time. And there, like always, are both my partners. We got Jim, the great Jim Rafter, and his soulmate, partner in crime, Finnegan. What's up, Finn? How are you, big boy? He's trying to get a sausage out of your pocket, I think. He's looking for sausages.
There's something about your voice. He just gets up and goes, it's Uncle Gary.
He loves my voice. So listen, guys, we're having a little fun early because we're going to be on a subject that's a little bit touchy for both of us. I know for Jim more than me because he's new to this whole event. I'm 9 years in from both of us losing our spouses to the evil dreaded cancer. But today's episode is going to be called The Last Whisper. And it is saying goodbye to our loved one. Did I get that right, Jim?
I think you got it nailed. And what's unique about us, you and I being just idiots with microphones now, and now we can compare because you can see mine. Is we have so many things, and we talk about it every time, right? That parallel but then diverge. So we'll talk a little bit today about my poem, what I called The Final Whisper. And what's unique about you and I is that we were both in bed with our wives when they passed. You in a hospital, me in an apartment in La Jolla. But that's like, it's almost like crazy, right? How many years we've known each other, how long we have, raised kids, gone through life. And then at the end of the day, we both were in bed with those pretty ladies when they took that final whisper. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. And who knows what souls we might touch on this little conversation, right?
So I thought maybe what we might do is just, instead of us going back and forth goofing around like we always do, is maybe we'll each just kind of share that day or that hour or that moment when we had the final, whisper that we got to say goodbye. And, again, like you said, we're parallel but different. That's just how we are, right? And so I think maybe just go ahead and just let it out. Let us know how that day was, that whatever time period you want to make it, whether it was the whole day, the hour, the last minute, whatever. And then I'll do the same thing, and we'll kind of, try to heal each other before we get off the podcast,
Right.
with a little question answer and some levity. But I know this is tough. You're only a year out, and I remember kind of where I was then. But do what you can with it. I'll just shut up and let you go.
All right. I just put the timer on the dive watch. So it's checking my heart rate, my depth, whatever. So I will not go over time. Going back, I could go back, but basically, Jen got into pain management at the hospital, and she had to have nerves cut and stuff to block all the pain from the tumor. And during that period, we decided, Samantha and I, to get an apartment. So when she got out of the hospital, it was super comfortable, pretty. So we got a gorgeous apartment in La Jolla, right off down from the beach. Beautiful. Because I knew that we knew once you got it. I mean, it wasn't a question. We knew it was a matter of months before it was done, and it was just managing that time. We had a lot of good times. I'm gonna go to every restaurant we went to in La Jolla and tell them if they want to sponsor us. I'll be like a NASCAR car. I'm gonna have a jacket with every restaurant.
You'll be the Ricky Bobby of grief. If you ain't first, you're last.
All the restaurant, never mind. Uh, so we got into La Jolla. We did some other things. Started bringing the kids in. Uh, one of the things that y'all and I will tell people, you call me if you get into hospice, if you get into critical care, if you have to be the night nurse, call me. I lived it, did it, done it. Um, I was just telling you a little bit ago, um, Jen had certain meds at 4 a.m. every day, right? Meds started at 4, right? Whether it was hooking her up to a tube, you know, chopping, because Jen couldn't swallow a pill because Jen can't do anything without making it hard. So she couldn't. So my sisters are buying her you know what a pestle is?
Oh yeah.
So my sisters are buying her pestles to chop up pills to put in cranberry juice so she can suck down pills. And this starts every morning at 4 a.m. Um, so we went through hospice, which is the first level of hospice, which you get people coming in, they help. You've got resources for all the tidy whities and all the things that have to go on with maintaining quality of life. And then when you get really, really deep into it, and again, this is all going on in our apartment um, in La Jolla. So this went on from April to September, right? And when you go from just hospice and then you get into 24-hour critical care, which we'll wait for your story because you're a little different. But we just had uh, amazing nurses that 12-hour shifts that would come in and sit there, and because at some point I couldn't do enough. I was not allowed to touch the fentanyl and the morphine and all the things that happen. And they were just amazing how they managed my emotions, my kids' emotions. And after we hear your story, then we can kind of get into who got where and who was there. But at the end of the day, we got into critical care, and Jen just would not give up. And the nurses were like, we've never given anyone this much. And they're like, go go give her some more pot. What levels you can get her? We're gonna just fentanyl and nuggets and get her to just stay asleep because she was ornery and wasn't dying until the day it was. So then to that point, and well, I'll wrap up my little story in a bow and my whisper is is she's on the heart DDs, and so we can monitor everything that's going on. So we knew she was going, and of course it was 4 in the morning. It was just I don't know why she picked 4 in the morning every day to make my life just miserable. And well, it wasn't all. Never mind. It wasn't never always miserable. But 4 a.m. was a good time for us sometimes. Uh, she I could see and hear the do 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 do. And the nurse came out and said, "Hey, we're like super close." And I Sam was with me at the time, and thank God for that. But yeah, so I hopped in bed, gave her that 4 a.m. spoon cuddle, and held her as she took her last breath. That's my story.
And that's when things, I've had that with my good friend Jeff, where I took care of him through hospice towards the end. Jeff, my house husband. Um, and it's that's really weird, surreal, bizarre. I mean, Jeff and I weren't like you and Jen. Um, but that is a bizarre feeling, man, when you watch someone intentionally. I mean, that's hospice's job, right? I mean, that's their job. And then they go. Now, see, April and I were different, right? The same but different. And again, I'm sorry you went through that, but how great and how amazing is it to have been there, right? Could have been a car accident, could have been anything, but to lay there that one last time. April and I were different, where she'd been getting sicker and sicker. So anyway, so we go into Eisenhower Hospital, and of course, we spend another Thanksgiving at Eisenhower Hospital. And I'm just move in, I just move into the hospital. So I'm there, um, split through work a little bit, during the day, but then I'm back and I'm spending the night there, eating there, and the whole kit and caboodle. And so I'm basically sleeping in the bed, but she can't. So finally, I'm like, to the doctors, I'm like, why? I think she's getting worse. Do you guys need to tell me something? Is there something I should know? Is there a countdown? They never gave us a countdown, which really pissed me off, especially looking back, right? And I said, why can't we go home? I mean, if she's that bad, we'll do hospice, whatever. But I mean, why can't we just go home? And they said the respirator that she's on, because her lungs just got really bad, can't leave the hospital. We don't have an oxygen supply for the home that's strong enough for her. And that's when I was like, oh crap, wait a minute. So I'm no doctor, but if you're trying to tell me she can't leave the hospital, then we're getting close, right? I mean, but they would never give me the kind. So, but she was a bulldog, you know, like Jen. She had a mask done because now they found a tumor in her brain. Like she just needed another tumor, right? And so she was scheduled for radiation Monday morning. And Friday, I'm just like, babe, why don't we just postpone it? Why do you want to go through this mask and the radiation, all that shit? When you're not feeling that well. She goes, nope, no, no, no. Pull the mask aside. No, 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 we're doing it. No, 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 we're doing it. I'm like, ah, fuck. So,
Really picture that.
and she was just whipping every nurse that walked in. In 15 minutes, I get my meds. And I know you have a couple of them hidden extra for me, which I don't know if I should say that, but the nurses were awesome. So just as a fluke, and we didn't call people, we didn't organize, but as a fluke, just a bunch of families showed up Saturday, right? And they were like, coming in from LA, just, I mean, what a blessing that these people showed up Saturday. We had a great time Saturday, right? She could take the mask off a little bit and talk and stuff, but mostly had to keep it on. So Saturday was great. Sunday, she was really tired.
But you're in the hospital. You're in her
Oh
hospital
yeah, no,
room.
we're living at Eisenhower Hospital. Yeah, no, I'm
Was
living
it
there.
a
She's
pri
there.
was it a private room, or did you have to
Yeah,
share it? Okay.
yeah. It's just the two of us in there, and
Okay.
so I'm sleeping in there. I can't sleep in that stupid fold out chair that's supposed to fold into a bed. It doesn't. It's just a frick, and it's a torture chamber. So I just screwed her ass over. She's got tubes all over the place. She weighs a whole 74 pounds. So I screwed her ass over, and I just slept with her every night. I don't sleep anyways, and the nurses come in, and I mean you can't sleep in a hospital. So Sunday was bad. She was really tired, and I'm like, hey. Let's cancel this Monday thing. This is ridiculous. You don't need to do this tomorrow, And the nurses kind of said the same thing. Anyway, so she was adamant about it. So we're there, and we we try to go to bed, whatever. We're there. And I want to get her to talk about what if. You know what I mean? She just wouldn't do it. Just wouldn't do it. Now
Yeah,
you and Jen had already had that talk and you've done that, right?
yeah.
So
We had known, yeah, Jen had known for months that it was done. She
yeah,
just wanted to get more months that they said she could have.
yeah,
So we there wasn't any saving us. It was just, well, they said 12, I'm getting 18. So
right. Yeah,
yeah.
and we never got the countdown from anybody. So, but April's like that, I'm not going anywhere no matter what. So we go to bed Sunday night. So I'm not sleeping. So I'm exhausted, right? Um, so Monday, I feel that she's not in the bed, right? And I wake up and she's sitting on the side of the bed. And she's got all these, the mask on and wires and tubes and shit, right? And I get up and I race to the other side of the bed and I'm looking at her and what are you doing? And she's like, I gotta pee. I'm like, what? Hold on, because I've been putting the bedpan there. She
Right,
doesn't get up anymore, right?
right.
So I go, just hold on. So I'm holding her arm on the left side, right? And with my right hand, I'm trying to lift up her all 70 pounds, get her scrawny ass up so I can put the bedpan there so she can pee, right? Trying to pull her pants down and trying to help because she wanted to sleep in jammies. She didn't like the thing. And so she looks at me and she's got these emerald eyes that are like just the most greenest emerald eyes you've ever seen in
Uh,
your life. And she's
I want to
looking
hug
right
you.
at me, and she just right there, she just falls. And I was holding her, and she just falls. And I'm like, fuck. I just thought she fell. And so I'm freaking out. I'm running down the hall of the hospital. I'm just screaming, like, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. And then they all flood in and they're looking at her, they pick her up, and I just feel horrible that she fell, I mean, the floor's hard and there's shit, and so they pick her up and they put her in the bed. I'm like, do something, do something, do something. And they're like, no, she's got the do not resuscitate. You can't do it. I'm like, fuck that. That's, it's your job. Do something, bring her back. Do something. Said, no, she didn't want it. Can't do it. And so I was losing my shit. Um, and I'm just like talking to her like, you know, don't go. You can't. She can't go. Right? It was like I just remember it like yesterday, and she actually looked like the most beautiful I'd seen in a long time. You could see everything had left her. And so she was like at a different color, even. She was at peace. You could just tell. You know, um, but I wasn't. I was pissed. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You can't go out like this. Don't you know who I am? You can't leave me. And the nurses are hanging around and they just all bailed. And it's just me and her, and I climb in bed and I'm holding her and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Um, she's gone.
Yeah.
She's gone. And I
And
just
that's kind of, so I'm crying with you right now. I mean, I'm like in massive sets of tears. But that's where when we get into the planning episodes and stuff, and again, we laugh about a lot of stuff, but that time for both of us was really, really raw. You had to deal with the hospital personnel. I had the nurses call in hospice and taking her out through this apartment complex in a bag on a gurney. Um, Probably, I mean, they kicked you out of the room and said, she's gone, bye. And I had to sit there with her corpse um, for 3 hours with my daughter until they body bagged her up and took her out the
See,
elevator.
we wouldn't let them take her. I said, you go, okay, well, she's passed, and we have to get the doctor in here for the last minute to double check and put the time and the death certificate and all that shit. And do you want a priest to come by? No offense to religion. Well, I'm like, no, that's the last person I want to see right now. Um, and and they're like, well, you should probably go to the waiting room or whatever. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here for like the next 5 days. I'm not going anywhere. You're not. You couldn't drag me out of here if you had to. And they're like, well, at this point, we got to do what we got to do. You got to go. So I'm like, no. So I just got on the horn and I'm just calling people. I have no clue who I called. I don't remember who I called. I think I called one person. I might have called my best friend, a really good friend, Tay. I might have called Tay, and she called everybody, because that's how she is. Um, um, but just people start showing up. I mean, like Alan from Orange County and Charlie from LA, and I mean, people just started showing up, and we're still in the hospital, and like we're not leaving, right? We're having a Colombian sit-in. It's just gonna get ugly, right? It's like, no, you don't know who we are, right? We're like the cartel. So we literally were there until one of the nurses came in and said, listen, at this point, the body starts doing stuff you do not want to see, right? And so you guys really got to go. We let you hang out, but you are not going to want to be here in about another 20 minutes. So I respected her for that. You know what I mean? And it was bizarre time because we're sitting there, we're taking pictures, we're all laying on the bed with her. We're all hugging her, we're taking selfies with her.
What's wrong
We're
with you
moving her
people?
hands like it's totally weekend with Bernie. The families we're weird, but we just missed her, so we're all like, well, we're just gonna pretend like you're still here, right? So it was a weird time.
All right, I may want to stop knowing you and your family now. We're gonna
I really should have
reevaluate.
had a tissue for this. I don't know. I didn't think I was going to go there, so I didn't really prepare for the snot and the tears.
Well, again, there was a reason I had some issues this morning because I knew we are going to come down this path, and it's a tough one.
So, what did you do while Jen was there? I mean, I remember when they were coming to pick up Jeff. It was really uncomfortable. The body's there. This wasn't as uncomfortable, but what'd you guys do?
um, I'll be 100% honest. This may or may not have been the best choices in my life, but I did have my daughter with me, and I did have a whiskey at, 4:30 in the morning, waiting 3 hours um for the
Why
team to
is
get
that?
there.
Why is that a bad choice? Like it's the first time you've
I,
had a whiskey at 4 o'clock in the morning? I don't think so. You've been to Vegas.
and then watching the body, it's not my first rodeo watching a body bag. Been there, done that in the Marine
Oh,
Corps.
with your brother? Oh no, in the
Oh yeah,
Marines.
Marines, brother, mom. Yeah,
Oh
this is
wow.
not my first rodeo on people being rolled out in body bags, but this one was obviously it was the love of my life, my best friend, and that 3 hours waiting for um, everyone to get there. And again, we'll get it. I'll say it again. We'll get this when we go planning. Is I was lucky that we knew what was coming, pre-planned. We had every friend and relative in the world come visit her um the week or two before she went into basically into a coma. And so she got to have her final big party hurrahs with everybody. So yeah, so with April, right? You guys are just doing weekend at Bernie's on the bed. Jen had, her week and a half um swan song with everyone coming uh to hang out with her and see her. So
When my friend Jeff was passing, and it was just such a sudden shock. He had cancer, and spent 6 months at City of Hope, which that place is like the most incredible place on the planet. And as a weird thing, he got a side ache, and he went in, and the doctor said, your cancer's back. You've got a week to live. And we're like, dude, he's got a side ache. He's like, somehow this came raging back, right? And so they said you got a week. So we went to his house where he had a hospice. And I'll tell you, he worked at Eisenhower as a radiologist. And those doctors, man, they sent, steak and lobster, open
Aw,
bar. I mean, those doctors took care of him. I mean, and we partied like rock stars for 3 days until he just started caving. Then everyone just bailed. Party was over. But me and one of his other friends and his mom, Norma. But, but yeah, so I get that. When you're in the hospice and like, like I tell everybody, my buddy Jeff, I'm sharing it. I don't care. Charlie can edit it
just,
out if you want, but
just
my
go.
friend
Just
Jeff,
I know the story, so just
right?
go for it.
I
It's
gotta
funny.
do it. So my friend Jeff is gay, right? And we're like bestest of friends. And my wife April would always say, "You two should get married." And we'd always say, "Well, who's going to be the man?" They say, "Jeff." Without a doubt, Jeff's going to be the man. I'm like, "Oh, that hurt." But so Jeff and I were really close. And towards the end, when the hospice nurses would leave at night, they say, "Hey, you got to give him the morphine." And I'm like, "All right." And they said, "Well, you have to do it in the morphine bombs suppository style." And I'm like, "Huh? I gotta do what?" And they go, "Yeah, right up the old pooper there, suppository, because he can't swallow at all, even drops." And I'm like,
Right.
Jeff is gonna be so happy. He's gonna he's gonna look down and go, "This is awesome."
There is a God.
There is a God. Yeah, we were that close. So yeah, I got to the old whoop. Yeah, I put one up me too. It's not that bad. That morphine in the pooper's not that bad. But yeah, so Jen, you guys knew and you felt good, but April was just so unexpected, and I forgot about that stupid do not resuscitate thing. And I was just freaking out on the doctors and nurses, man, just like going ape shit, running up and down the hallways like a crazy person, looking for someone who would help her, right? And they're just like, not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it. That's why we have that. She doesn't want to be brought back as a vegetable, right? And so
Yep.
yeah, so it was 8:05 on December 8th, 2014. And so it's been a long time, but I swear to you, I can see her looking at me right now. I mean, when I'm looking at her, we're both laughing, which is so weird. I'm trying to put that
Got her
bedpan
right
under her
over
butt.
there. Yeah.
Huh?
Do that right there.
What are you pointing
No,
at?
I got her pictures and her stuff. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
you do?
she.
Yeah. So it's like it's just so bizarre that she just died right there. And then one of the nurses later said, "You know what, Gary? She was probably dead when she sat up. The body does that." And I said, "Well, you can't talk if you're dead." She goes, "Weird things happen when people go." I said, "She looked right at me and said, 'I gotta pee.'" And we started laughing. And she goes, "Yeah." She
Yeah,
goes,
Jen did a lot of the same stuff. And what's interesting about how we talked about this last whisper, Jen, what when Jen first in September of 21, after she had the surgeries for the colonoscopy or the baggy thingy, and she started radiation. She she got septic. She went into septic shock. So I had my older sister and a friend, and we were getting ready to do mass online on a Sunday morning, and Jen's just, we're like, what the hell's going on? So we called the paramedics, and they're like, oh man, we'll see. But she was minutes from being dead without us even realizing it.
"What happens when that you go into septic shock? Does it stop your heart or your brain or what is that?"
Yeah, it's just a bacterial disease, and and the doctors will again, you may have had a good experience with Eisenhower doctors. I will tell you stories that will curl your blood.
We're gonna save
Uh,
that for the medical podcast. We got tons of
yeah,
that of
we'll
that.
we'll get back into that. But they just abandoned her. It was just Eisenhower was just the most horrible experience of my life. And all they said was, well, she needs to eat and exercise. She's
What?
40 pounds. She's 40 pounds.
She needs to
She
eat
has,
and exercise?
yeah, that was the doctor's like, she's not doing enough. And then 2 days later, we're luckily we got to JFK, and the doctors at JFK saved her life. So then we get into that whole, which was better, right? Losing her that weekend, or the next 2 years
Getting her ass
of
kicked.
having it, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
the
I
last
remember when you finally manned up and called me, Cher, and
Sunny.
and said, "Listen, it's back, and I didn't want to bring you through this again, but I need to talk to you." And I visited, and I was like, "Ooh, wow." They were beating the crap out of Jennifer. I mean, April looked bad. I mean, they beat the crap out of April. She lost like 80 pounds. Yeah, Jennifer looked tough, man. That cancer is so wicked, but the treatment can be even more so.
Yeah, and you've gone through that, so you understand how bad
Oh,
just the
I'm
treatments.
having that right now. I mean, the radiation just trashed everything, and it killed the cancer. Hopefully, I mean, we don't know for sure, but I mean, but oh, this is all wicked brutal. So yeah, I mean, what they did to me to kill this thing was wicked. Hopefully this works. But what Jennifer went through, I mean, and when you tell me that to cut her nerves because the pain was so bad. And like I was telling you, April was eating oxys like candy. I mean, she was eating like 10 or 12 a day. And she was so hooked that it was like if she missed one, oh, Sally, bar the door, man. You were gonna get Colombian all upside your head if you missed bringing her oxy when it was supposed to be there, right?
I will tell you a really funny story. I think the statute of limitations is done, so my sister doesn't.
Hope so.
We're in the hospital April before she died, and they're doing the pain management stuff, right? So they're trying to figure out, okay, get her off the morphine, let's get her on fentanyl. They're just playing with all y'all got, right?
Yeah.
And all she wanted was her edible.
Yeah, but edibles are cool compared to
they,
that shit.
they are awesome. But the funny story is that she takes one and she does a double dose.
Right.
And then the doctors come in the next day for their rounds, and she can't get out of bed. And then like, ah, damn it, we overdosed her.
Oh, damn it. I hate when that happens. Oh, that reminds me. Okay, so April, it wasn't legal then, like it is now. You just walk into anywhere and get all the pot you want, right? So, um, Christopher got his mom a med card. I said, "Mom, you gotta try cannabis because you need to eat. You need pain relief. This stuff will help you. Trust me." So we got her the gummy. She just didn't want to do it. She wanted to stick with the legal drugs, right? Like that frickin' matters. So, but they had got
Seriously.
her like a little jar, like that big of liquid or just like pure pot oil or whatever this shit was, right? And so the doctor or whomever prescribed it, the budologist for Christopher said, "Listen, take the head of a pin, right? Stick it in, pull it out real quick, and have your mom suck on that." She said, "That's it." And we're like, "Come on." So since I have to try everything that needs to be ingested by my wife, I I take a fork and I just put the four prongs in it, just barely touched it. No, did that. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. I couldn't get out of bed for like 6 hours.
Bye,
I,
Felicia.
I couldn't I couldn't move my limbs. I thought it killed me. I I look at my arms, I look at my legs, I'm like, why aren't you moving? It was the scariest, worst feeling of my life. I'm like, yeah, that shit's not going anywhere. That stuff's going in the trash, man. So, but I'll tell you that last day, I'm glad Samantha was there with you, gave you someone to be there with. Um, I was shocked how quickly people showed up out of the blue. Like I said, geez, family members had to come from LA, Orange County, all over, and I'm sure it was my friend Tay Freed, call her out now, who was able to reach out to everybody. Um, and just people showed up, and we just loved on her, man. We just loved on her. We cried, we laughed, we took pictures. Of course, the only one who wouldn't come in to see her was her own mom, of course.
Yeah.
Because she's, I guess I shouldn't put this on a recording, but other than that, I mean, pretty much everyone came in. We just hugged her and stuff, and it got good. As weird as that is to say, it was like so joyful, everyone there loving on her, even though she was dead. But we
Yeah,
were
so
all able to share that.
and the big difference between you and I, right, is you were pre-COVID. So you got to be in the hospital, people got
Mhm.
to come visit. There were no masks, there were no, passports to get into a hospital, armed guards, federales that would keep you out of a hospital. I mean, no one could come visit Jen in the hospital. It was like almost impossible. We did have a few really good friends that were able to fight the system. Um, so it wasn't until we got her back into the apartment that she was able to see everybody. And then we will have a whole different episode on planning and the party
Yes,
because
because the planning
we'll
is
talk.
super important, and the party is even more important. But see, you guys were copacetic, and the way everything happened, you guys had planned everything and had the partnership. I had no idea she was going to pass, right? So I just completely shut down. And again, if it wasn't for Tay Freed, call her out, and Peggy Merrill, and my friend Michael, um, I don't know. She'd probably still be sitting in the house somewhere. I I mean, I literally like for that week. I don't know why we
Wrong
rushed
with
the
you?
service and rushed to get her cremated and stuff like that. But see, you didn't have an open casket, neither did we, right? Both were cremated. But like I said on a different podcast, Zachy wanted to come see his mom when he got in from the Air Force and flew in for the service. So we went to the mortuary and saw her. Damn, she looked good. I mean, she wasn't embalmed or dressed up or anything because they were gonna cremate her, so you can't embalm her. But so we did get to see her one more time, which was actually really awesome. I wasn't sure how that was gonna go. But other than that, man, I was completely out that week. I don't remember
Yeah.
jack dilly squat. I remember them saying we need a picture of April, right? Because we want to blow up a nice big picture of April for the service. So when you walk into Wally's, there's a picture of her like they do for. I mean, we've got Elisa's grandpa sitting right here, big old, blown up picture. Um, so that was absolutely stupid idea to put me in charge of digging up that picture, right? Because I'm like, I'm already a complete mess. Now you're going to have me go through boxes of photographs to
Yeah,
pull
right.
out one to use. So I'm like finding the most bizarre, stupid pictures and texting them
Right.
to Peggy. She's like, no, get a good one. No, where are you finding these stupid fucking pictures? So finally, just as a fluke, one day when she got back from chemo, she just looked really good. She's wearing her favorite shirt that says "Be your own kind of amazing," and she still had the stupid band on from getting the chemo. And I said, "Sit by the fire because your shirt, the lettering kind of matches the blue by the fireplace." And you look really great. I want to take some pictures of you. So she did. She sat by the fireplace and I fired off like 10, 12 pictures of her. So, anyways, we ended up using one of those. It just happened to already be in my phone, luckily, but it was a really great picture of her, even though she was so sick. That was like towards the end, but she just looked great. And But that's the only contribution I did to the whole. I don't even remember how she got cremated. I don't remember anything. Did they
Well,
take
and
Jen? Obviously, they took Jen right to the mortuary, right?
yeah, that was already pre-planned. So it was just, I think it was just Sam and I as they put her in the bag and wheeled her out, and then that was it. It was done. And then because of COVID, it took um 6-8 weeks um to get everything done. And again, luckily, she's in a crypt at Miramar National. Um, so at some point, um, I'll be there with her again.
Again, that's why you have to tune into our planning podcast coming up soon, just for these
Yeah,
reasons.
we'll talk about that.
Had I planned, had she let me talk about it, which she wouldn't, had we planned, it would have made my life and everyone else's life so much easier. I would have known her wishes of what we were going to do. As it was, she wouldn't let me, so we didn't plan anything. It was terrible. And you guys did the exact opposite, which was so awesome, which is so amazing.
Yeah, and I think as we kind of wrap up the final whisper kind of thing is where we're at. And we'll dovetail this into we're gonna do a planning one next. But it helps. It helps the it helps the getting healing and the getting through that first few weeks. Uh if you've already done the work. And we've talked about this before, and then I'll wrap up my babbling and crying. My mom planned hers. My brother, we had no clue. There was no plan for my brother. I just found him dead. Uh, so that was one of those things where I knew going into it, my time frame, without having to tell her you're gonna die, right? That's the hardest thing, is because they want to fight so hard. But you got to be the adult in the room and know that you got to just be prepared for what's the inevitable.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, um, thank you, but don't thank you, jerk off, for taking me down this road again. But again, 9 years later, and I still remember it like yesterday, and it hurts every time I think about it. I haven't told that story much because it's just, of all the stories I've told, that one I don't really think I've let out too much with too many
Right.
people because it's just too wicked. Takes me to too dark of a place. Thank you for sharing, your last final whisper with Jen. Um, death is final, folks. It's wicked bad. If you're blessed and if you're lucky enough to have special people in your life, please, you know, value every second of it. Don't do stupid fights. Don't say stupid shit. Don't do hurtful things to each other. Um, try not to. I don't want to judge. We've all done it, right? But I mean, just try, because I'll tell you what, when you watch them go, and again, it's a blessing and a curse. But when you watch them go, you don't want to have a shitload of regrets that, wow, the last thing I said to that person was something that wasn't nice, or maybe we were in a fight, or maybe we did stupid shit. You know what I mean? You know, hey, at any given moment, it can end.
You know
So
what? One of the things I live my life by, and this is going to make you laugh. Mike and Carol always said, Brady's never go to bed mad.
dude, not pulling out a Brady Bunch episode out of nowhere.
You
Oh my
set me up. It was
God.
like you teed up the Callaway.
All right. So besides Alice, because everyone wanted to hit Alice, everyone wanted to do Alice. Which one of the daughters, come on, did you have a crush on?
Not, come on, you can't even go there, man. Stop it.
I don't even remember all their names, but there were three little blondes, right? I don't know.
Marsha.
Oh, yeah. We all wanted Marcia until she got hit in the face with a football. Didn't she get hit in the face with a football?
Yeah, but Even the lead singer of the Monkees wanted Marcia. So,
All right. Well, I'm glad we
all
can
right.
end up with a laugh like we always do. I love you.
Love
I
you.
don't like you for taking me down here, but I'm glad we did it.
That was
Again,
gnarly.
this episode, Jim, you got to post your poem of the same name with the
Yep.
final whisper.
Yep.
It was beautiful. It was touching. It was poetic, and I think you got to post that so that people can see it.
All right, man. Love you.
Love you.
Kisses and hugs. We will see you on the backside.
This has been our weekly broadcast, brought to you by the Grief Podcast Studios. We can be found in audio-only format on all the popular podcasting platforms. Remember to like and subscribe and to hit that alert button so you don't miss any episodes. Thanks again, and until next time, treat yourself gently. And don't bite off more than you can chew. Healing is a process.